John Hanning speak. That is what is recorded in the history. The whole year the Kawaka just met one bearded, smelly white man. The whole year. I mean, Smith didn't have a shower. He was coming all the way from the coast. The only thing we knew yesterday, the whole Kawaka of Uganda, was that he met this one lonely, lost wife. How is that possible? How is it possible? Then they teach us in primary school. Stanley passed Karagwe, he met Manika, he went to Mbarara, he's a slave. He was like 15. But because my life was the Bible and the survival of our people depended on it, I had to biology, I had to go into genetics, I had to go into mathematics to try and understand it, not only understand it, understand it, so that they can explain it to someone. When I understand it going under the table, I want to stand and talk. When I'm ready to go, I don't want to leave no stone unturned and turn every stone twice.
Your ancestors in the world that you created were able, with very little knowledge, they didn't know the European, they didn't study the Middle Nature. Shakespeare did not know about Ra. Yeah, Sandra did not go to school, to learn philosophy, to learn military strategy, to learn whatever. Yet in most of the time, they outfought, outgeneraled, outfronted some of the best military genius that Europe had ever possessed. Do that at the time. If they were able to do that at the time, what about you? Who's got a phone? Who's got a fax? You don't only have a phone, you have a fax and a mobile phone.
Every 5 seconds, a child is dying of malaria in Africa. Now, to get the dose of life-saving anti-malaria is about $5. But there is no government to give anti-malaria. When somebody gets malaria, if they have no money, they get ill and die. So the question that I was asking and many people were asking was, if you really want to help children, why begin with a disease that they don't have? Why not go Why not look for something that is killing them?
This is Oxford, Cambridge, where you go to get this degree, where you get the first degree, which is a BA, bachelor's degree. You know, they don't believe in marriage. So they don't, the only thing they can give you is a bachelor's degree. Because you can stumble on a conference like this and get shocked when a few ideas are thrown in your head. I don't believe what Nana Sekmet said. I don't believe that kind of stuff. It's okay. They teach you how to critique, not to believe anything. When they say, they say, what do you think about black people building their own institutions? You say, well, it has its own advantages and disadvantages.
The high culture of Egyptian civilization that starts around the Nile Valley eventually ends up here in the Giza Plateau, in the pyramids of Giza, one of the highest high technical civilizations that African people put together, starting all the way from Uganda, covering present-day Sudan, and going up here in Egypt.
established that more than 7 million years ago, a black woman stretched forth her hands under God and gave us the first human being. In the beginning was a black woman. This black woman lived at the foothills of the mountains of the moon. This black woman lived in the Iraqustan region known in ancient time as the land of the gods. This black woman lived at the source of the Nile. This black woman lived between the two domes of the Great Rift Valley. This black woman's genes run through the genes of every human being. This black woman's DNA is the string that connects every person that walks on earth. That is why we say that let him that is worthy be worthy still, and let him that is righteous be righteous still. So behold, I come quickly. My reward is with me to give unto every man and woman for and according to his reward should be. For in the beginning was a black woman. This woman gave rise to a human. Never was a time when a black woman was not. Never will be time when black people will cease to be. Because we are eternal, my brothers and sisters. We have opened the door to show you that although the economies of Africa have made their money, have pegged it on the dollar, but the dollar is really run by thieves and hooligans, by murderers, by liars and cheats, by conmen and swingsters. They are the people that govern the world and look after the stock exchange. These leaders of these so-called free democracies, they don't practice democracy in their country. They don't spare democracy in their country. They make money through wars and drugs. That is why they went to Iraq to kill. That is why they funded Saddam Hussein. That is why America has invaded over 60 democracies in the last 40 years. That's why they invaded Congo and killed the president of Congo, the Prime Minister, Patrice Lumumba. That's why they killed Mossadegh in Iran. That's why they brought Saddam Hussein into power and again funded Saddam Hussein so that he can kill his own people. When they talked about liberating Iraq, and they went and caused mayhem in Iraq. When they went to Fallujah, they used biological and chemical weapons that had been banned by the same organizations. They brought into order the League of Nations so that they can have a one-world government. And when they fought a war, the first European war of 1914, what you call a world war, they fought that war for what? They fought it so that they can introduce a one-world government, because they believe that in war you can have a new order. So when you pick a dollar bill and they say our new order our enterprise has been successful, Anut Tawi, our enterprise has been successful, and we are introducing a new order of all ages in 1776. 1776, you have heard from TV Africa, was the year in which the Illuminati was formed in Bavaria. The Illuminati's ruling family is the same, the Bavarian family of Germany that gave us Adolf Hitler is the same as the family of the Queen of England. The Queen of England worships gods that come out of ancient Egypt, but he picked the negative aspects of the gods of ancient Egypt, and that is what they worship. Almost all the orders of Freemasons are from ancient Africa, and the remnants are from ancient Babylonia. So they felt that for them, they adopted it as a cult, as symbols of Satanism and paganism. I am telling you that European leaders and European institutions are bent on destroying the world.
There are 3 books which clearly map out the Zionist plan for world domination. The Bible, written by Hebrews, Morals and Dogma, written by Freemason Albert Pike, and the Protocols of Zion, written by the Priori of Zion and revised by the Zionist Illuminati. All three books describe the plan for an apocalypse or Third World War, which will give birth to one world empire and one world leader. This one world leader is called the Antichrist. The Bible is like a screenplay for a reality disaster movie, but with a fairy tale ending. The Zionist plan is to create an apocalypse that will exhaust and depopulate the masses through deadly designer viruses, global terror, economic disasters, and nuclear war. These disasters are timed to occur between now and 2014, when the remaining survivors will gladly embrace the promises of a handsome, charismatic new leader who will unveil his plan of hope for eternal world peace. The only way to achieve eternal world peace, he will explain, is to put an end to the 5 causes of war. Secretly, he knows there is only one main cause of wars: the wars caused by his royal ancestors who planned, provoked, financed, and profited from them. He will sell his peace plan by telling the world that border wars will only end by creating a world without borders. Religious wars will only end by creating one world religion of interfaiths. Economic wars will only end by creating a cashless, debt-free society. Rivalry wars between rulers will only end by creating one world ruler. The tools used for war, from handguns to nuclear bombs, will be eliminated, and one world army will be created, which will guarantee world peace. How will this eternal peace plan be accomplished? Through the United Nations, which is the brainchild of the Committee of 300 ruling families. The UN is their vehicle for world government and is located on 18 acres of prime Manhattan land donated by the most visible of the ruling families, the Rockefellers. The UN is a closed organization with no public records or open meetings. U.S. taxpayers have already invested $2 trillion in this world authority. Although most of the people working for the UN are genuinely working for peace, the UN is a godless organization controlled by the Committee of 300. These inbred ruling families pretend to have royal blue blood, but their blood is no more blue or royal than Hannibal Lecter's blood. Some speculate that these families of evildoers are demons or aliens or evil shape-shifting reptilians, but there is a more scientific explanation for their madness. For thousands of years, these families have practiced inbreeding between sisters and brothers, uncles and nieces, mothers and sons, to keep the power and wealth all in the family. This practice of inbreeding over thousands of years has produced a clever but pathological breed of conscienceless, sociopathic families who will stop at nothing to own every ounce of gold, every drop of water, and every blade of grass on planet Earth. The United Nations, which they founded and control, has clearly stated its goals of establishing a new world order, a UN standing army, and a global taxation system. The Queen's husband, Prince Philip, and Evelyn Rothschild have already established an interfaith declaration for the creation of one world religion. What would life be like in this world empire with one world religion, one world army, one world economy, one world court, one world media, one world government, and one world dictator? What the public doesn't know is that Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto and the Russian Constitution have been built into the UN Charter, and that the New World Order will be a communist world order. Peace on earth will be a forced peace in which citizens will have no rights. No right to bear children without approval, no right to travel without authorization, no right to own private property, no right to privacy, no right to bear arms, no right to protest, no right to receive an inheritance, no right to choose an education or a job or even a place of residence, and worst of all, no right to live. The right to live will be based on an individual's rating of usefulness to the royal elite. In this planned world without borders or nations, citizens will be disarmed of all weapons, including handguns, and will have no means to protest, fight, resist, or challenge this one world authority who will control them spiritually, economically, and militarily. Every human being will be electronically tattooed and will become helplessly dependent on this one world authority for all of their most basic needs. The masses will eventually be taught to bow down and worship this one world dictator who will rule the entire world from his eternal throne in Israel. The big question is, who is this charismatic leader that the entire world would be willing to accept as their ruler? According to plan, this future world ruler will prove himself to be a descendant of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene, and will therefore be accepted by the Christian world. Some will even view him as the Savior and Messiah. As a professed descendant of Christ and a proponent of world religion, he will also be accepted by Buddhists, Hindus, and the Eastern world where Jesus Christ reportedly lived, studied, and preached Eastern philosophy. Since he is a descendant of the Hebrew tribes of Israel, he will also be accepted by Hebrews and Jews worldwide. By marrying a Muslim woman, he will win the acceptance of the Muslim world. He will also be accepted by worldwide Freemasonry and secret societies, which he is a member of. As the son of Princess Diana, he is already loved and worshipped. When his mother died in the arms of a Muslim man in a Paris car crash, the world embraced him. On May 31st, 2004, the Rothschild-controlled Associated Press published a photograph worldwide taken by Alistair Grant. The photo shows Prince William posing with a lamb like Jesus Christ, who the Bible calls the Lamb of God. What is the significance of this photograph? To the unaware observer, the photograph is perfectly innocent, but to insiders familiar with the protocols of Zion, Freemasonry, and the Book of Revelations, William is identified in the photo as the Antichrist. The Antichrist has been described in art and literature as handsome and charming and a master of lies and deception. Freemasons call him the Baphomet, or Goat of Mendes. He has also been described as the embodiment of evil and the enemy of God, and has been called Satan, Lucifer, Pan, the Beast, and Amen. He is commonly illustrated with cloven hind hooves. Why is Prince William holding up a cloven hind hoof in the photograph?
Don't look at the queen and take pity on her. Don't look at the queen and think that she's a righteous woman. Don't look at the queen, or don't look at England and think that England promotes democracy. There is no democracy in England. England is a theocracy. It is ruled by religious leaders. The Queen of England is the supreme head of the Church of England. The Church of England was started out of the sexual pleasures of Henry VIII. The Queen of England is a Freemason. The Queen of England drinks blood. The Queen of England changes herself into a serpent. The Queen of England lies in a tomb, and the Queen of England is coronated on top of an Egyptian pyramid to symbolize the supremacy of England over African civilizations and over African civilizations, over African religion, over African belief system, over African wealth. In fact, the crown of the Queen of England
is gold, is diamond that was stolen from Africa. It was these English. It was these English that set up the secret society now that runs the world. Right from the days of Cecil Rhodes. Cecil Rhodes started the round table. That round table, the aim was to control Africa from Cape to Cairo. Cecil Rhodes tricked African chiefs into signing agreements so that he can steal all the diamond. Once he had stolen the diamond, then Cecil Rhodes used the wealth that he created to create a round table, a secret society of round table. This round table would fund education. So when you hear Rhodes Scholarship, like Bill Clinton was, that is the scholarship of money established out of the theft of African diamond that enabled Cecil Rhodes to set up a secret society, which secret society was responsible for starting the Second World War so that they can have a new world order and eventually they can have one supreme leader that governs this world.
Like the pharaohs of ancient Egypt who built their empire with the help of a grand vizier, Queen Elizabeth II also has a grand vizier who serves as her most trusted advisor. His name is Lord Evelyn Rothschild, and he is the second wealthiest and most powerful person on earth. He is also Lord of the world's financial capital, the city-state of London. Lord Rothschild and his ring of power hide their identities behind 13 city council members who stand in as their representatives. On November 30th, 2000, Lord Rothschild, now in his 70s, got married in London to a wealthy Zionist businesswoman named Lynn Forrester. The couple then jetted to Washington and spent their wedding night in the White House. Just months before 9/11, they moved to New York and settled into their 18th floor luxury palace at River House, where 2 private terraces offered them front row seats for the scheduled 911 show. Just how rich and powerful is Lord Evelyn Rothschild? Historically, the Rothschild family wealth was hidden in underground vaults. The Rothschild secret financial records were never audited and never accounted for. Their family commissioned biographies give the illusion that their family fortune has dwindled, but researchers estimate their wealth at close to $500 trillion, more than half the wealth of the entire world. Besides their many castles, palace mansions, wineries, racehorses, and exotic resorts, the Rothschilds bought Reuters in the 1800s. Reuters then bought the Associated Press, which selects and delivers the same news stories to the entire world, day after day. They have controlling interest in 3 major television networks and easily avoid media attention since they own it. Until recently, they owned and operated England's Royal Mint and continue to be the gold agent for the Bank of England, which they also direct. They control the LBMA, London Bullion Market Association, where 30 to 42 million ounces of gold worth over $11 billion are traded daily. The Rothschilds earn millions weekly just on transaction fees alone. They also fix the world price of gold on a daily basis and profit from its ups and downs. Over the centuries, the Rothschilds have amassed trillions of dollars worth of gold bullion in their subterranean vaults and have cornered the world's gold supply. They own controlling interest in the world's largest oil company, Royal Dutch Shell. They operate phony charities and offshore banking services where the wealth of the black nobility and the Vatican is hidden in secret accounts at Rothschild Swiss banks, trusts, and holding companies. Although Evelyn Rothschild looks like a harmless gray-haired old man, make no mistake about it, Rothschild and his ancestors have handpicked presidents, crashed stock markets, bankrupted nations, orchestrated wars, and sponsored the mass murder and impoverishment of millions. The wealth hoarded by this one family alone could feed, clothe, and shelter every human being on earth. How did Evelyn Rothschild become the filthy rich Grand Vizier to Queen Elizabeth II and godfather of the black nobility? By birth, Evelyn Rothschild is the great-great-great-grandson of Mayer Rothschild and is passing the godfathership down to David de Rothschild. Their story begins in 18th century Frankfurt, Germany, on a cobblestone street called Frankfurt on the Main. Mayer Amschel Bauer was a goldsmith and a loan shark. He hung a red hexagram shield over his doorway and changed his name from Bauer to Rothschild, which means red shield in German. The red hexagram shield was the symbol for the world revolutionary movement. Family biographers describe Mayer Rothschild as a poor man who lived with his family above his goldsmith shop and sold rare coins to royal customers. Contrary to appearances, Mayer stashed a big supply of gold, precious coins, and jewels in special hiding places inside his house. One special hiding place was beneath the back courtyard, where he accessed his strongbox through an underground passageway. Mayer taught his 5 sons the tricks of the trade. To them, he wasn't just their father, he was their lord and master. To them, he was Lord Mayer. In 1773, Mayer Rothschild invited 12 wealthy, revolutionary-minded men to his goldsmith shop. Together, they formulated a plan to seize control of the world's wealth. They made a pact to secretly pool their money and influence to bankrupt the nations of the world and create a new world order. Using his connections, Mayer teamed up with Prince William, who was the ruler of Germany's Hesse-Kassel district. William had a reputation as a cold-blooded loan shark who trained and rented out his Hessian soldiers as mercenary troops. King George III of England rented Hessian soldiers from Mayer Rothschild and Prince William to fight the American colonists. American colonists had already shot down millions of North American Indians whose spears and arrows were helpless against the deadly gunfire. The worst Holocaust in human history occurred not in Nazi Germany, but on American soil. By 1776, British and Hessian troops arrived on American shores ready to fight the American colonists.
They're preparing for an attack.
And we won't have long to wait either. See there? Hessian troops to the north.
Hessian mercenaries. I can't believe the king is paying Germans to come here and kill British colonists.
Won their independence, and Mayer Rothschild won his blood money for the heads of each and every Hessian soldier killed on the battlefield. Back in Europe, Napoleon, with his mighty French army, became master of Europe. When Napoleon and his troops stormed into Frankfurt, Germany, William feared for his life and his vast fortune. He left $3 million in the hands of Mayer Rothschild to pay the Hessian soldiers. Then he escaped to Denmark to stay with his royal relatives, all of whom were descendants of the tribe of Dan. Mayer Rothschild received a stock market tip from his World Revolutionary Network. Instead of paying the Hessian soldiers with the $3 million that was left to him by William, he bet the money on his insider stock market tip. With his new fortune, Mayor Rothschild set up 5 family banks to be run by each of his 5 sons in London, Paris, Naples, Frankfurt, and Vienna. On September 19, 1812, Mayor Rothschild died at the age of 68. He left instructions that the amount of the inheritance must never be made public, that secrecy and ruthlessness must be used in all business practices, and that family members must intermarry with their own blood relatives to keep the family fortune all in the family. All 5 brothers dedicated themselves to their ancestors' world revolutionary dream. That dream was to control the entire world under one world ruler by disarming the nations of the world.
A king, the son of David, will purify Jerusalem from the nations that trample her down, destroy the lawless nations, and gather a holy people whom he will lead in righteousness.
Mayor Rothschild's most successful sons were Nathan, who ran the London Bank, and James, who ran the Paris Bank. Together, they changed the face of history and became known throughout Europe as the Demon Brothers. Their father had given them a detailed New World Order plan for world control. Adam Weishaupt wrote and completed the plan on May 1st, 1776 with Rothschild financing. It was a futuristic plan that would put New World Order members over the next centuries into political power positions.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear. I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly.
It was a plan to divide and conquer the nations of the world by provoking wars, then profiting from war loans and from the sale of weapons to both sides. Exhausted by war, terror, and chaos, humanity would eventually bow down to one world ruler and one world army as a solution. It was a plan to control public opinion by purchasing the controlling shares in TV networks, newspapers, publishing houses, and film studios.
Briefings and updates from Washington and around the world every 15 minutes throughout the business day. As influential leaders, global markets, and your money take center stage on CNBC.
Completely on the stage, but he was on the scaffold.
Sports, games, and alcohol would be used to distract the masses. Laws would be changed, banks would be monopolized, and people and nations would be made into obedient debt slaves. With Rothschild financing, Adam Weishaupt formed a secret world revolutionary group called the Illuminati. He recruited thousands of influential members by convincing them that only men of superior ability had the right to rule over the ignorant masses. French police exposed the plan when they found documents on an Illuminati courier who was struck by lightning while traveling from Germany to France. The Illuminati was forced underground. They took refuge in the lodges of a secret brotherhood called the Freemasons, who practiced death and rebirth rituals and whose history dates back to the construction of Solomon's Temple. Nathan and James Rothschild came up with a scheme that would put the Illuminati plan for world control into action. It would also make them filthy rich. The brothers helped finance both sides of Napoleon's famous Battle of Waterloo between the French and the English. With advanced knowledge of the British victory, Nathan Rothschild spread lies that the British had been defeated, which caused a stock market crash. While panicked English investors sold their life savings, Nathan bought up their market shares for pennies on the dollar. When official news of the British victory over Napoleon was announced, the English stock market skyrocketed, and so did Nathan's wealth. In one foul swoop, the Demon Brothers had double-crossed the English masses and taken control of the Bank of England. Flaunting their stupendous wealth, the brothers went on a lavish spending spree. They bought mansions, fashionable clothes, and hosted extravagant parties. By 1818, they had picked the pockets of French investors by crashing the French government bond market. According to plan, the brothers formed the world's first international bank and named it N.M. Rothschild and Sons. The Pope became their most famous customer. The Catholic Church, which had financed the wholesale slaughter, torture, and looting of hundreds of thousands of Muslims during the Christian Crusades, were now doing business with the Demon Brothers. By 1823, the Rothschilds were guardians of the entire papal treasure and took over the financial operations of the Catholic Church. Enraged citizens accused the Rothschilds of conspiring to control the world's money markets. Fearing for their lives, the Rothschilds retreated into the shadows and cast their eyes on the youthful United States of America. To avoid publicity, the Rothschilds made themselves invisible by creating and hiding behind two front companies, J.P. Morgan and Kuhn and Loeb.
More and more power was becoming concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. By 1906, J.P. Morgan's bank controlled 1/3 of America's railways and almost 70% of the steel industry. He eventually had a stake in the major companies of the 20th century, among them AT&T, ITT, General Electric, General Motors, and DuPont.
At one point, Morgan made the offhanded comment, "America is good enough for me." And the newspaper of William Jennings Bryan retorted, "Whenever you're tired of it, you can give it back." I mean, that was the image of J.P. Morgan, the owner of the United States.
The success of Morgan's industrials was quickly reflected in the Dow Jones Industrial Average.
The Rothschilds bought controlling interest in England's British East India Shipping Company and the illegal opium trade with China. They offered junior partnerships to New England's leading American families. The Russell, Coolidge, Delano, Forbes, and Perkins families became fabulously rich, smuggling opium aboard their speedy clipper ships into China. In 1820, Samuel Russell bought out the Perkins Syndicate and ran the opium smuggling operation with his partner, Warren Delano Jr., who was the grandfather of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The United States flag was designed after the British East India Company flag with 13 red and white stripes. Both flags copy the red and white striped sails of the Viking ships, which were the color standard for the tribe of Dan.
Finally, Britain found a commodity that China would...
In 1842, the British stole Hong Kong from China in an opium drug deal called the Treaty of Nanking. The Russell family, who controlled the U.S. arm of the Rothschild drug smuggling operations, set up the Skull and Bones fraternity at Yale University. America's big money families formed the fraternity's inner power circle. Taft, Russell, Schiff, Harriman, Bush, Warburg, Guggenheim, Rockefeller, Stimson, Weyerhaeuser, Vanderbilt, Goodyear, and Pillsbury were all members. These families intermarried over the generations to form America's big money aristocracy. Skull and Bones member Alphonso Taft catapulted his son, William Taft, right into the top job at the White House. President Taft's 17th Amendment to the United States Constitution guaranteed the right of big money insiders to hand-pick senators and buy control of the United States Senate. Today, the most influential members of the CIA, the U.S. government, and big finance are skull and bonesmen. The Skull and Bones Brotherhood is rooted in Jewish Kabbalism and in European Freemasonry, which practices similar death and rebirth rituals. Freemasons are blindfolded, symbolically slain with a noose around their neck, and lowered into an open grave. Once raised from the grave, they must look towards a light called the morning star. The Latin translation for morning star is Lucifer. The phoenix bird and double-headed eagle are important symbols in Freemasonry. In Egyptian mythology, the phoenix bird is a god who rose to heaven in the form of a star like Lucifer after his fire immolation of death and rebirth. Death and rebirth themes in satanic witchcraft are marketed to youth in movies like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. The Hollywood movie lots are owned by the Illuminati Lehman Brothers, Rothschild agent Kuhn and Loeb, and Goldman Sachs.
So brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you today that knowledge that we're bringing you on Television Africa is sacred. I myself will be teaching on TV Africa for 1 year, for 5 years. After 5 years, I will disappear. You will never hear from me. I will be like Noah. When Noah entered that boat, after teaching for 40 years, he didn't get a single convert. Noah taught for 40 years, got no single convert. But when Noah went into the ark, he left no address, no phone call, no fax. He had no mobile phone. No, you couldn't write him care of a scroll or care of the flood. Everybody who was left behind was drowned. I am here as a prophet from the ancient Lord of the world. I am here as a prophet, a messenger from the ancestral voice, from civilizations now past, from the best of your high technical civilization, to tell you that African people, if you are to be a Christian, do not be a European Christian. If you are to be a Muslim, do not be an Anglo-Saxon Muslim. Because European people do not at all believe in God. No, 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 no. The leadership of European people, the majority of European people, those who don't have knowledge, who exist at the lower level of society, they are known by their leaders as the Goyim, despicable cattle. Goyim, in the Freemasonry, is despicable cows. People who can be swung from one end to another because they don't need them. They need to control them through the mind. They need mind control. But you can't be a Goyim. You are going to be a righteous man. You are going to be a righteous woman, because TV Africa is going to give you information. And you are going to get this information and take it to your teacher. You are going to get this information, take it to your preacher. You are going to get this information, take it to your bishop. You are going to get this information and take it to your grandmother and your grandfather and take it to your father and share it. You are going to sit on the internet and learn how to use the internet to benefit your race, to look for information that we are telling you, to check it out, to find out really, do the Illuminati believe in a god called Yabulon, a name you've never heard before? But most of the things you hear in Television Africa, you have never heard them before. No, most of the things you hear in Television Africa, you have really never heard them before. So TV Africa is like a classroom. It is a highest institution of learning. TV Africa is like the University of Ipeit-Aisut. TV Africa is like the Library of Alexandria that was torched by Christians, who burnt it because it could reveal some of the secret mysteries explaining the origin of that religion. Nations like America have Yale University, and the Yale University has the headquarters of the Skull and Bones. The Skull and Bones headquarters are in a room that don't have windows, and inside that there is a tomb, where inside the tomb or inside the coffin is where people take their blood oath and promise to serve Satan and bring and wreak war and bloodshed onto the world. These are oaths, as I said, that George Bush would have taken. These are oaths that Bill Clinton would have taken. And of course, people who knew about this and wanted to close these secret societies, like JF Kennedy, were people who were killed, and other members of the Skull and Bone Society, like J. Edgar Hoover or Gay Edgar Hoover, ensured that the killers of Kennedy, got away. But America has Yale University, America has Berkeley, America has these so-called Ivy League universities for their own people. Britain has Oxford and Cambridge. Germany had Göttingen. But Africa, you in your home, you have TV Africa. TV Africa is the University of Ipeit-Aisut. TV Africa is the University City of Dijene. TV Africa is the University of Sankole. And TV Africa is the Library of Alexandria. TV Africa travels into Africa and brings the incidents, the best image and interest, and brings them to life. Soon we shall be making our own movies and our own cartoons. Soon and very soon. If you are an animator and you are out there and you are looking for a home, TV Africa is putting together the biggest animation studio in East Africa. Now, TV Africa goes into the continent, brings some of the most exciting live moments of our achievements and puts them on the screen. Brings some of the heroes. For example, most of you knew or thought that Nelson Mandela was a great hero. Mandela. Everybody, when they talk about heroes, they talk about Mandela. But it was TV Africa that told you, no, Mandela was not a hero. Mandela was a sellout. The real hero of that revolution was Winnie Mandela. And compromising Namzamo, Winnie Matakazela. Nelson Mandela, with her gold digger wife, Samora Machel. How would Samora Machel's wife, Samora Machel was a hero. We show Samora Machel on TV Africa, on our Heroes Clip. And we're going to bring more heroes. Right now, we've been showing you the heroes like Jerry Rawlings, not very much of a hero, but heroes like Henry Clark, heroes like Sheikh Anta Diop. We've been showing you heroes like Patrice Lumumba, heroes like Robert Mugabe, Robert Gabriel, heroes like Samora Machel, heroes like Winnie Mandela, not forgetting our own, Idi Amin. We've been showing you heroes. Some of them have not really been heroes, like Jomo Kenyatta. We don't know because, Kenyatta got most of the land that was supposed to be returned back to the people, and he gave it to his own inner circle. The land never went back to the people. Kenyatta became a problem that was meant to solve a problem. Kenyatta was no hero. Heroes like Gamer Abdel Nasser. We have been showing you heroes. Henry Clark is one of them. Professor John Henry Clark. Sheikh Anta Diop, one of the greatest minds that Africa produced. Sheikh Anta Diop was the one who opened the eye of most of us. I am a student of Sheikh Anta Diop. If you have never heard that name, Sheikh Anta Diop, the brother who wrote books like Civilization or Barbarism, the brother who wrote books like the Cultural Unity of Black Africa, And I am glad that I gave a book of Sheikh Anta Diop to President Museveni. And he later told me that it is now one of his best bedside books. Heroes. We will show you more heroes. We are going to bring Louis Gama. We will show him. We will bring Ramesses the Great. We will show him. We will bring Gabriel Prosser. We will show him. We will bring Kamanga, who continued the liberation in Bahia and Paramares, the brother who was caught, and as he was about to be hanged, he said, when they asked him whether he had anything to say, of course, you know, he says, I came here to hang and not to make a speech. We will bring heroes, our heroes, like Toussaint Louverture, and of course, Deseli. We will bring heroes like Boukman Duarte, the brother who put it all together and laid the foundation for the Haitian Revolution that ended up defeating the French white man, 150,000 soldiers, 50,000 Spaniards, and of course 20,000 English, and turned Saint-Domingue into an independent territory that became Haiti. We will bring you heroes, and some of them we have shown you in the epic battle that was fought by Chetshwayo Kampande Zulu. If you give birth to a child today, name that child Chetshwayo. TV Africa has told you, do not give yourself a European name. Do not give yourself a European name. Name like Abdon. Abdon is a Latin name for Lucifer. So how can you name yourself? A name identifies you with your land, with your language and culture. Africa is your language. Africa is your land. That's why I say if you give birth to a child, if you conceive today, name that child Chetshwayo Kampande Zulu, the brother who defeated the British in an epic battle of Isandwana. And in the film Zulu, you have seen how he did it. Those brothers, they were nationalists. They were patriots. Those brothers, oh, they spoke like Marcus Garvey, forward ever and backward never. We have been able to bring you Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We have brought Marcus Garvey to you. Garvey is no longer something you don't know. Garvey now is a reality that sits in your television. You can hear the voice of this great prophet. You can hear the voice of Marcus Garvey. You can hear the voice of Munro Trotter.
As a young boy, to see my father in the parade was one of the greatest things in the world. I would be right there to see him put on his tunic, and I loved to see that sword that he carried. It really made me feel very proud of him.
Mills was one of 100,000 black people marching under the red, black, and green flag of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. The world had never seen anything like it. It was all the work of one man, Marcus Garvey.
Every window that you looked at, people's heads were out to see the Marcus Garvey parade. Most of them wanted to see Marcus Garvey. And he was very well decorated, his hats and the feathers, but he drove always in his automobile, sitting back.
At the age of 34, Garvey claimed millions of followers worldwide. His controversial goal, to create an independent black nation, made him one of the most powerful people in America and one of the most hated. The federal government targeted him as a threat to national security. Rival black leaders denounced him as a lunatic and a traitor to the race. But Garvey may have been his own worst enemy.
He wasn't one to take advice from others kindly. He made his own decisions, and he would rise or fall by the decisions that he made, because he was a supreme egotist.
Volatile and secretive, yet charismatic and visionary, Marcus Garvey changed forever the way black Americans looked at themselves and the world.
laundries, restaurants, newspapers.
Garvey financed UNIA enterprises through the Negro Factories Corporation, which was capitalized with small contributions from his followers. At their peak, UNIA businesses employed as many as 1,000 people in Harlem. By the end of 1919, Garvey claimed over 750,000 followers, and the Negro World was the most popular black newspaper in the United States. But his rising influence would soon make him a target of the federal government and a growing number of black critics who called the UNIA a house of cards.
You have no excuse not to have information. You have no excuse not to go up to the top of the pyramid in nearness to the Creator. What excuse have you got? You can't say, I don't know. We are removing that I don't know by our slogan, the right to know. But knowledge alone, once you get the knowledge, you have to act on it. You can't say, I'm just moved. Because the question is, moved to do what? Moved to do what? But all these heroes and heroes, all these people that we have brought onto your existence, into your living room, thanks to Television Africa, you must learn from them. When we show you the Battle of Adwa, which will be broadcast soon on TV Africa, a movie by Haile Gerima, a documentary talking about people who have lived there, who were there, and who have been there. You need to know that we do this at great cost. We do this to make sure that you understand and overstand, that you know the whole picture. We hold the mirror and say, this is what it was. That the great Emperor Menelik, the great generals that were there, like Murgeta, Ras Murgeta, those great generals were able to engineer a major defeat of a European power, Italy. Not to mention, to forget mentioning the role played by the emperor and that of the Abun, the leader of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Brothers and sisters, this is a great opportunity. It is a great opportunity for you to be able to sit in your living room and watch the Battle of Adwa. It is a great opportunity for you to sit in your living room and watch the pain and suffering that African people went through the African Holocaust. And we have spared no expense. We've gone at great length. You have seen, and soon you will see, how we have traveled on all when we tell you about the Piltdown, how white people wanted to falsify the origin of humanity. We go and stand at where they did it and say this is the Piltdown pit in Surrey, England. When we tell you about the slave market in Zanzibar, we go to the slave market and say this is where it was done and this is how it was masked. When we tell you about the door of no return in Senegal, we stand at the door of no return in Senegal. When we tell you about the door of no return in Ghana, at Ermina, we stand at Ermina and show you. When we talk about the pyramid, we don't talk about it, we show you the pyramid, because television is don't tell me, show me. And TV Africa has a lot of exciting things for you.